Welcome to Rekindled Faith with Melanie Bearda. Whether you've been wrestling with questions, facing doubt, or simply just uninspired, let's dive into what it means to be authentic followers of Christ. Hello, Lindsay. Welcome to Rekindled Faith.
Thanks, Melanie. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. I know Lindsay from Apologetics Canada. We've been volunteering for a while together, but
Were you with the first season of the Leadership Summit, or you were the second season?
Well, I was there for the second one, which I think they did 2 in 1 year, didn't they?
They did. Yeah, there was a spring and a fall in the first year.
So I was there for the fall.
Okay.
When real people showed up. It wasn't that COVID era that we once were living in.
Let's not talk about that.
Let's not talk about that. Never happened.
Okay. At any rate.
Yeah. Okay, so Lindsay, why don't you just start off by introducing who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Lindsay Martin. I am a wife to AJ Martin, and I have 2 little kids here, 1 kid in heaven as well. My kids here, I've got 1 daughter in grade 1 and a son in kindergarten. And I, for the last almost year, maybe not even quite, I've been working at Apologetics Canada. I am the executive assistant there. So I help with administrative related things, running conferences, like all that kind of stuff, but still very new in a lot of ways. So getting my footing on that. But yeah, that's like a little brief snippet. I'm sure we'll get into more as we go.
Yeah, I like it. So I invited Lindsay to come on to Rekindled Faith. We've got just to really have a conversation about, our resumes and how we can trust God with those.
Yes.
So I know that you have a story, and if we're just going to dive straight in, which I'm totally down with, you've got a story to share about, like, long before you started Apologetics Canada, you were going to school and doing stuff there. So why don't you just do a better job than I'm doing at explaining what you were doing when you were going to school?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, I could even go back even farther than that. I won't tell you my whole life story, but I think it's important to start out in just saying that I, as a person, am not like a future planner. So if you're envisioning someone who's like in grade 5 and they're like, I'm going to be a nurse when I grow up and I'm going to take all these classes and then I'm going to get into this school and then I'm going to do all that and that's going to be my life plan, and then actually follow through on that, like that is not me at all. I am very much like, what door is the Lord going to open for me today? So even when I graduated, I was reflecting on this. When I graduated high school, my first job was actually in construction. I was sweeping out these units because my dad like was able to get me a job there, and I couldn't find a job anywhere else. Anyway, I was just very much, and then like the job I was offered after that was some admin job that was random. So I very much was like kind of on to from thing to thing. I didn't even start my undergrad studies until later. And there was a brief stint where I went to Hillsong College and I was thinking I was going to be like a worship pastor. That was kind of the dream. And so I was just kind of all over the place, to be honest with you, doing lots of random things, just trying to feel out where the Lord was leading me. And that eventually did lead me to doing my undergrad, which took me 11 years. So I recently graduated with my undergrad in history, actually. And then, yeah, there's so many places I could zoom in along the way of that journey. But the short of it is that at the end of that journey, and in there too, like having kids and just doing church life and all these things, the Lord really kind of in a crazy way opened the door for me to be doing the job that I'm doing now and connected a lot of random dots. So that's like a super flyover, but I don't know if there's anything in particular that you want to ask about.
No, that's good. I like that you're sharing that because like we've had lots of conversations, but I feel like in a way you're kind of talking about my own life because I very much so relate to kind of just going a little bit of everywhere and trying to figure things out and a little, I don't know, floundering, I guess, for my own story.
What was your first job?
Oh, well, my first job was at Quiznos.
Nice.
making Subway sandwiches, but that only lasted a week
You
because
made wait, hold on. You made Subway sandwiches at
oh, sorry,
Quiznos.
Quizno sandwiches, not Subway, come on.
Breaking the mold from the very
Pretty
beginning.
sure
I
I've,
love
like,
it.
never gone back, but fast food is just not for me, so
Fair.
I gave up on that not dream.
Hmm.
Props to all those people that do, fast food work. Yeah.
100%, we love your food, so
We
good
love
luck.
your food. We love to eat your food. We do not wanna I don't wanna make the food, so thank you for
Fair.
making it for me.
Mhm.
But my, like, first real job, I actually worked in a soap factory, so I would,
Oh,
like, production line, putting bottles on a conveyor belt aimlessly for 8 hours of my life and watching them fill up with soap and then putting them into packages and on a pallet and then sending them to, like, Japan.
wow, that's riveting.
Yeah. It was pretty cool.
Oh my gosh,
Uh
I didn't know that about you. That's so funny.
Oh, well, that's because Melanie has had, like, probably too many jobs. Um, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Anyways, we're not talking about my resume. Lots has changed since then. I don't know. I guess I wanted to go into travel and tourism to travel the world, and then I
Oh,
ended
cool.
up recovering from alcoholism, and that didn't really work out very well. So I worked at the airport
Mhm.
for a few years and then I went traveling with YWAM. And then I came back and I was like, "Hey, maybe I want to be a police officer now." So I started pursuing that dream. And
See,
then I
this is
decided,
what I knew about you. Yes, is the
yeah,
police officer thing.
the police officer thing. And I was like, it was that grade 5 dream, but the
Cool.
alcoholism kind of really wrecked that direction for my
Fair.
life.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I early 20s tried to go back to that. I don't think it's for me. Like,
Mm,
I got they told me to, like, go away until I had 10 years sober and then come back, but I'm not gonna go back. I don't wanna be a cop anymore. I wanna
hmm.
just, like, talk about Jesus and, like, like, be with people that are asking questions and help them
Yeah.
wrestle through those questions, and I don't even know if there's a job title for that. I'm just, like, doing the podcast now, and nobody's paying me for it, so I'm just
Oh my
showing up.
gosh. That's how
I'm
it
being
starts,
paid in the
man.
spirit.
And this is actually what I wanna talk about though in this is that, like, all those little things, like, you talk about going to YWAM and, your job at Quiznos and, like, doing the policing thing. It's actually so crazy how God can take all of these little pieces of what we do, and I really do think he pieces them together into a resume that you can't necessarily put in writing and like submit to an employer, but that the Lord does like bring back these things and these experiences, and He does use it to equip us for something. And it's often like way down the road that you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, I did this thing at this job, and like, wow, that really did teach me this, or like set me up for that. And anyway, it's crazy how God works.
It is, and I'm thinking about how for volunteering too, like I've done a lot of volunteering ever since I got sober because that's the way that I've been told to go and serving my community and giving back after
Mm,
being a little bit of a deadbeat. So that's what I do with my life now. But anyways, my point is that there was a time when I just looked at the resume as something like I just needed to get a job so I could get a different job, and it was like I wasn't necessarily doing the things that brought my heart joy, and I don't think there's
mm,
a problem with that. Like, you need to make money, you need to provide for yourself, your family,
for
and
sure.
I don't think that we should just, like, go in the direction of what's gonna make us feel good. I'm very much not saying that, but there was a difference when I sobered up and rededicated my life to Christ, that it wasn't so much like, what can I get out of doing this thing that it can pack my resume and make me look awesome so that I can get a better job or something. But it was more so exposing myself to the things that I was curious to learn about. So,
Mm.
I mean, I've done a lot of volunteering. I volunteered at like a cat shelter and I love cats. So, I got to like hang out with cats, and there was like feral cats that wanted to like murder your face.
Oh
And then
my
there was
word.
cute little fluffy kittens, and I got to know what running that type of a establishment looked like and the things that you need
Mm,
to look out for and all that stuff. And I mean, I only have one cat. I'd have more, but my husband does say no to some things. So that's probably good.
that's
Crazy cat
fair.
Mel. It's great.
Yeah. I've been working on my husband to let us get a dog because I'm a huge dog person. He is not an animal person at all. We've
Yeah.
settled on a rabbit, which has been like a good
Oh, I like that.
middle of the road situation. I'm not a cat person personally, but I still respect
Yeah.
you for your cat affinities.
Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
accepting me.
100%.
Um,
I see you. I think I just wanted to comment for a sec on what you said about not necessarily just doing the things that, following your heart, so to speak, or like only doing what you like, because obviously we know the Lord can call you to do things that are challenging or like monotonous. And I think I was reflecting on this too, because when I think about my story and my resume, if you will, and like how I made decisions, I was very, very self-conscious about my like paper physical resume because it did kind of look like I was maybe a bit like flaky or flippant because I did in a lot of situations pivot from one thing to another. And there was an element for myself of like, how did I feel about where I was at? But I do think there's a distinction between just doing what feels good and on like a kind of a selfish level, like what I I don't want to do hard things and so I just want to do what's easy versus actually being prompted by the spirit to take certain steps and to do certain things. So like in my story when I look back at a lot of those key decisions that I've made in terms of like even going to Hillsong, going to college there, getting married and like deciding to come home from Hillsong, and pursuing the studies that I pursued then at like a secular university, all of those pivot decisions, I feel like I can actually look back and see or remember a moment where I feel like the Lord like spoke to me, and not in a way of like I heard him audibly or anything like that, but in a time of like either I'm journaling or I'm praying or I'm just like reflecting really deeply on this thing that I remember feeling that peace, that prompting of like, this is whatever this change that you're considering is actually what the Lord wants you to do. And in a lot of situations, that didn't make absolutely any sense. So, like, for example, I was at Hillsong College pursuing this like worship pastor dream, right? That was what I thought I was going to do. The church that I was at sent me there and they were like, you're going to go, you're going to get trained up, and then you're going to come back and you're going to like be the person who's like, at least in some capacity, like working for the church to do that was my understanding. And so I had this plan. And while I was there, I was just really praying about just like church in general. What does it look like for us to worship? I was just wrestling with all these big things. And I feel like the Lord really prompted me in that time to actually return home and join this church where they didn't have a worship band. They didn't have any church staff members. Like there was no opportunity for me to live out that dream the way I had envisioned it. And yeah, in prayer about it, I just felt so certain. And still now I look back at that moment and go, yeah, the Lord called me to make that change and to return home, like stop pursuing the dream and then leave the church where I had kind of the chance to do that worship pastor thing and go somewhere completely different and to be a part of a community where I actually didn't even really know what I could bring there because I was a worship pastor. I was the worship person. Like that was what how I identified myself and like what my gifting and value was at that time. And so sometimes the Lord can prompt you in a certain way and it's not logical. And it definitely wasn't a feeling of like, this is going to be easy. This is going to be exactly what I want to do. This is going to fulfill me in all these ways. In a lot of ways, there was lots of question marks over that. And I wasn't sure what it would look like. And yet I felt that peace and that prompting. So I do think there's a distinction. Like, I think we could, and I'm always afraid that people will assume that the way I made decisions, oh, this is Lindsay just wanting to, do her own thing and whatever. And then, for myself, though, looking at that and saying, actually, I feel confident before the Lord that at these points in time, I was actually seeking Him and He was guiding that. And I was just being obedient to that. And so I don't know what you think about that. If you feel like, or if you feel like you've had an experience where the Lord has like prompted you in a certain way, or like, I mean, obviously you're here doing this, and I admire you so much for that. I definitely don't have the entrepreneur spirit. So that's something I see in you that I really admire. But do you feel like you resonate with that? Like that the Lord can prompt you to do things that are like unconventional to what maybe you would naturally want to do?
I absolutely agree with that, and I've experienced that too, but before I get into that part, I
Yeah.
just wanna pull it back because for me growing up, there was a lot of emphasis on having a plan, having a career in mind,
Yeah.
and, like, working hard to attain whatever it was,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you noticed it too, like, with the whole feminism movement of, like, women joining the workforce, not that I'm that old, I'm only 36, but I did see that where as, like, a young person, there was a lot of push for women, for, like, people that I knew to, like, prove their worth
Oh my
in, like,
gosh.
the work environment and
1000%.
girl boss stuff. I'm sure it's still going on, but there was, like, that big push, so I found myself almost an unhealthy attachment or almost like an idolization towards, like, proving my worth in a male workspace and all that stuff,
Yes. Mhm.
right? And honestly, I was just, like, driving home from school today, like, thinking about this, so I like that we're talking
Mm.
about it. Because, yeah, like, a lot of the things and the decisions that I made in my life where it was me making those choices was me trying to, like, fit myself into some sort of perception that I had of what society expected of me that could, like,
Yeah.
stick it to the man type of thing, like,
Mhm.
I had to be different than what I what I literally am right now, a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, I just find that interesting, but to go back onto, like, when you feel the spirit leading you in a direction, I do agree with you, and I do not feel shame for the fact that I've, like, had a lot of different job opportunities.
Mm.
A lot of them I've had because I started volunteering somewhere and then I got hired on, and then it was just a part-time job just for a season, and then, like, something else came up, and then I moved over to a different job, and, like, when I was pursuing policing, I was trying to get policing jobs, and I tried security at one point, and I wanted to die. Like, it was, like, the
Oh,
most boring job I've ever done in my life. Anxiety provoking, I think. I, like, went to the doctor, I'm having chest palpitations. I don't know what's going on.
oh.
They put like a reader thing on my body and they're like, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not dying. And I'm like, I didn't even realize, and no doctor told me I was having anxiety attacks.
Oh my
Like I
word.
was panicked because I hated my job so much.
It's, like,
So
not a good fit.
it's not a good fit. And like that's where I was trying to push this policing idea and, like,
Interesting.
put myself into an environment that I don't think God created me for. I'm 2
Mhm.
feelings. I wanna, like, wrestle with people in their hardship, and, like, police is just like, "Alright, you're under arrest. Get into the paddy wagon and let's go."
Oh
And
my
that's
gosh,
just,
yeah.
like, not me. Like, I'm more of a heart person, of a relationship person, and I'm not trying to be, like, negative about police or anything like that. Like, they do their job well. We're not gonna get into that. I was just for me,
Mhm.
it's not a fit, and I
Yeah.
tried to make it fit, and then I had to grieve the fact that God was asking me to something different, and that
Yeah.
was hard, and that happened when I had my first child, and I couldn't find childcare to go back to work and stuff. I like, a whole thing, and God just, like, put it very heavy on my heart that this was something I needed to be okay to let go, but I'm also very loyal, and
Hmm.
so if I get, like, on somewhere or do something, like, I it's not about just doing what's in the job description. Like, I'm there to, like, serve and be of service to God ultimately, but
Yeah.
also to the company or the environment that I'm working in, and I'm there for the
Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
So, I get very loyal, and I don't think other people are as much as I am. Like, not everybody, but I think that there is, like, a girl boss mentality that I've just never developed because I'm just like, "People! Help the
Yeah.
people!"
Oh my word, and that's a strength, like, and I think they're different strengths. I think to your point about police being able to handle the things they handled, that takes, like, a strength and an ability to remove yourself somewhat from the situation, as I'm sure you know, that some people are able to do that, and it's so needed, and it's like but yeah, someone like you and I'd be the same way, who just carries that and, like, puts it all on yourself emotionally, like, that would be such a hard job. So I'm very grateful for people that can do that. And also like nurses who can handle like blood and emergency situations. Like those are also people I really admire. You're also kind of one of those people. We had an incident recently where there was stitches were required. And let's just say that Melanie was on the front lines of that. And I was kind of like, I'll give you, is everyone good? Everyone's good? Okay. Great. You got it. So we all play to
Yeah.
our strengths.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, that
100%.
just brings it into the body of Christ and how we've all been created for something or like have strengths in some areas, and a
Yeah.
foot can't do what a
I
hand is
wanted
supposed to
to
do.
Yeah. I wanted to ask more and talk more about that. You're saying when you had your kids that was a really challenging time for you. I felt the exact same way. And I don't know if it's also like all of what you said about, the feminism and about like girl power culture, how we got to have all these careers and all of these things. Like, yes, and amen to all of those. Like your read on all of that, I think is so true and so accurate. And I remember wrestling with the exact same thing when I had my kids. And I think partly it's because I was in an environment with a lot of other women who really felt that the home was their ultimate, like primary kind of end game calling, that was something they had desired for their whole lives. And we're like, this is where I'm going to land, and we're going to homeschool, and we're going to, like, this is going to be my full time thing. And so I just didn't resonate with that as much. So I was maybe comparing myself a bit to those other women as well and struggling with like, okay, well, what does it mean about me that as a mom, that's not what I ultimately am like desiring? Is that so awful? Like I felt a lot of guilt about that. And also, I think there's something about our culture at the moment too that the opportunities, like what really matters is the opportunities you can make and create. And there's like an element of guilt, not even in like just passing up certain opportunities that are in front of you. But it's like if you aren't doing the work to generate the opportunities yourself, you're wasting time, you're wasting space, you're not using your gifts, like all of these things that go on in your mind. So being a stay-at-home mom, even, and being on a maternity leave where you're like, I'm getting paid, this is all part of it. I can be home, I'm allowed to be here. But there's this pressure of like, well, we have the internet. Like you should have a like online business, you're trying to sell something through Instagram, or you should be writing a blog, or you should be like doing all these different things. And I wrestled with that so much because I felt like that was a matter of being like financially responsible, like what am I doing just sitting here raising my kids when I could be doing all of these other things to like seize the day and capitalize on all this like free time, air quotes, that I have, when someone who has kids knows like you are giving everything of yourself in that season. So the time you have that's free, it's like you don't really have much more to give. I didn't anyways. Um and so I just feel like that whole season was very challenging. And then I remember walking around my neighborhood with my daughters just strapped in the ergo. And I was praying and wrestling with the Lord. I was like, okay, this is my time. Like, what am I going to do to take advantage of this season of being home? And like, what are all the things? I had all these passions and desires and ambitions to do all these things. And I distinctly felt like the Lord said to me, you need to do nothing. And I was like, I didn't like that. I wasn't super on board with that instruction, but I did feel like there was a sense in which I felt it was my responsibility to not just receive from the Lord, but then to like extend it to other people in a way. And so the things I had ambition to do was like, yeah, I would do a blog. Like I love writing. I had people affirm like, yeah, you're a good writer. We'd love to read your stuff. You should do that. And so I just felt like, okay, I need to make use of this time to read the word, read about other great authors and stuff, write my own stuff, throw it into the mix and make it public and make a blog and do this. And that's going to be what I contribute to the world during this time. And the Lord just very clearly was like, the things that I'm teaching you, the stuff you're reading, like the scripture you're meditating on is for you. Like it's not for your neighbor. It's not for, this other person down the road. Like in this time right now, you need this word for you, not just so that you can relate it to someone else. And I think there was an element of freedom in that, freedom from like the hustle and like, if I rest in that, it's like, okay, this isn't me being negligent or like neglecting opportunities, but I felt like that's me being obedient to what I felt like the Lord told me in that time. But it didn't make it easy. It was definitely like such a wrestle of feeling like, look at and then you see all these people that are getting ahead. Like, yes, there were the moms who were like, we're at home with the kids, settled in. There's also friends who are off finishing their degrees. And not even just friends, but like my youth kids were like finishing their degree and off to their masters. And I was just home. Like, that was so hard. Like, and I'm sure, like, I don't know, I feel very akin to you in that ambition and that drive, and specifically in the area of ministry, right? That I also feel passionate about having conversations with people about faith and all these things. And when you're in a season where it's like the Lord intentionally is like, you're just gonna like put a pin in it and you're gonna pause, it can feel like all of that is stalled and that you're not moving forward. When, looking back, and you have kids too, you know how much you learn from raising them and all that actually goes into refining your character. But on a day-to-day level, you're not appreciating that. You're like, I'm just here again. I'm just here still. And it can feel very stagnant, which I don't know. That was really challenging for me.
Yeah, I appreciate that you say that. I can definitely relate. And I think about the book of Ecclesiastes often. Everything new under the sun has been done before and will come again. And I think about how in society today, a lot of people talk about self care and taking care of yourself and all those things. And I think about the Old Testament and the Bible and how God was like, have a day of rest, have
Mm,
a Sabbath day, and learn how to rest. And he talks about rest a lot. And I mean, he rested after he created all things. He took a day of rest. And so if he's
mhm,
modeling that for us, then I feel like we should be able to also recognize the value of that. But
yeah.
just in like the whole cultural theme that we have, it's this hustle culture. And I think there's a lot of tension between people's opinions where people will think, oh, you're just a stay at home mom. You're not really doing anything with your time. So why won't you start a business or do something to
Yeah.
show that you're valuable and that you're actually contributing to providing for the
Mm,
family and that you're not just expecting your husband to go out and make money so you can spend it on Amazon? Like there is a negative kind of
totally.
perception that some people have, not all people.
Yeah.
But then you also have the other side of it where you're going to have people that are going to be like looking at you with your business and like, wow, Melanie, you're busy all the time. Like, do you even have time to breathe or like spend time with your kids? Because you're always doing all the things.
Oh my
I
word,
don't
you can't
actually have
win.
I don't actually have an online business. I mean, I'm not making money, remember? But
Yeah.
like my point is that it doesn't matter. And I think this goes like straight across the board for anything and all things that we will ever try to do with our lives or
Mhm.
attempt to achieve. Like it's always going to be some are going to say one thing, the others are going to say another thing.
Yeah.
And I even find it in the comment section online where somebody will be like excited about, I'm a stay at home mom. I never thought I'd love this, but I feel so fulfilled. And I do agree. I never thought that I would be a stay at home mom. I never thought that I would just be on the living room floor playing with blocks with my children. I've only ever seen that the women go back to work and
Mm,
they go and they have a job and then it's a rat race of children, going to school, coming home, mom's still at work. And this is my life anyways. Like I love my mom. My mom's a beautiful soul but she did have to go back to work. And then I felt like I was alone and isolated because she was my person. Like my dad was there
mm,
too, but he also had a job. And my mom was always my emotional attachment. And with my
mhm,
identity crisis of being adopted and then being abused, like she was my safe space. And
mm,
then but she went back to work and then she started night school so that she could get a better job. And then so there was just like a lot of open space for me to just be by myself. And I felt very
mm,
isolated growing up in that. And again, like my mom is a beautiful soul. She did what she needed to do to also contribute to providing for our family. And I'm very
yeah,
thankful for that. She went to school and went to work so that she could pay for a private education for my sister and I for high school. And
mm,
I think that in a lot of ways, that sacrifice has saved me from potentially having a worse off fate because I was a rebel. I was struggling. And I think that for me, I don't know. If I was in a public environment, I think that I would have participated in a lot darker things. I just think
sure,
that I would have. So it is what it
mhm,
is. Anyways, my mom's awesome. I love her.
yeah,
And, but yeah, like this whole like comparison thing where, I was saying in the comment section where people like will say, "Oh, I'm so thankful to be a stay-at-home mom." And then like commenters come out and they're like, "Well, what about the moms that can't stay at home because they have to work or what about the kids that are stuck at home with a unhealthy toxic parent and all that stuff?" How about we just stop for a minute And for the love of God, celebrate that a woman is grateful for the opportunity to sit on the living room floor with her kids and play with blocks. Like, how
Oh
about
my
we just
gosh,
stop for a
amen.
minute and celebrate? Oh my gosh, like that is beautiful. God bless your heart, woman. Like,
Yes.
it's a lot of work being a parent. I don't like, come on, man. Please,
Yeah.
like, can we
Yeah.
just like celebrate the goodness in life? And you know what? For those of us that have walked through trials and tribulations and brokenness and sin, you know what? We have the chance and the opportunity today to lay all of that down at the foot of the cross, to
Yeah.
ask God to redeem the broken parts of our stories. And what we have to do in that is to continuously lay it down.
Yeah, just as you're talking, I'm just thinking about how what is the metric that we're using to judge one another? You know what I mean? And I think what you're highlighting in a really beautiful way is that the ultimate goal is to obey the Lord. And if he gives you a life of what are quote unquote boringness, or if he gives you, you're in this situation where you have to overcome all of these hurdles, like the point of it all is that the Lord is present with you, and he is opening the next door to you and saying, you're going to are you going to trust me, and are you going to walk through into the next thing, and seeing how far the Lord has brought you, and then now the next thing even just being you taking that step and sharing that testimony, and that being something that the Lord is actively doing in your life is so beautiful. And I think being able to just look at one another and say, with the cards each of us are dealt with, the opportunities that were put in front of us, like what are the steps forward that we have taken in faith, and to, like you said, just celebrate one another, and to not try to, tally it all up. And I think part of that comes from the fact that I think all human beings are just like, we're insecure, and we're wanting to feel better about our own decisions and our own lives and our own whatever. So we see other people that are, you know, playing with their kids on the carpet, and we're like, man, I haven't done that in ages. I feel really guilty that I'm not spending quality time with my kids. Oh, whatever, it's not a big deal anyway. Like we have these responses, and a lot of it comes from us just not being secure in what it is that the Lord's actually called us to. And that's why I think this conversation is so important, is being able to kind of set a different framework for determining, like, how do I know whether I'm in the will of the Lord for me? Like, how do I know whether this life that I'm living out and this thing that I'm pursuing, whether it's a career or whether it is, your full-time occupation of being home with your kids, or whatever the thing is, we want to have this, like, these like receipts to show, to be like, look at how I earned this, look at how this was so great, da 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 da. And to the point where if we don't have that, like, I have a really distinct memory of when I was applying for jobs at fall last year. I was sitting on my couch, literally, Melanie, just crying. I had filled out this form. I hadn't graduated yet. I literally graduated like this February. And I was like, my highest level of completed education was high school. And I had, worked all these random admin jobs at like my dad's law firm. Like, I've been a receptionist here, and I've been filing stuff, and I had been working. I did our church admin role for a little while, and I did all these random things, and I just like sat on my couch and was like, what do I have to show for 30 years of my life? Like, what have I been doing? And it's this insecurity, this need to like prove ourselves and be like, oh, I did all the things I needed to do, and I need to keep up in this culture. I need to show everybody how successful I am, or how, worthwhile all of this has been. And I just got to that point for myself where I was like, oh my gosh, if I'm banking on all of these receipts, all of these things to show what God has been doing in my life, I've got nothing to put on paper. And just realizing that from that place, like, what the Lord can do with that, like what the Lord can do with a person who is like, all I'm seeking to do, God, literally, this is my story, is like, all I've ever sought to do is to, in a given moment, be able to stand before the Lord and say, I am doing what I believe you're asking me to do. And if I have done that to the point that I'm 30 and I don't have anything to show for it, if you have been like faithfully showing up for your kids day by day, and you before the Lord are like, this is what you're calling me to do, and it's so hard, and it's maybe not the thing that I wish that I would end up doing forever. But before the Lord, I am like actively present in this, or actively overcoming like the things that you've overcome in your life. Oh my gosh, like, that's not on your resume, but that kind of stuff, like, to think that the Lord doesn't see that and that he isn't building your own sort of like resume. I don't want it to sound like transactional, like the Lord is keeping score and then he'll give you something in relation to what you've done in your life. That's not how the Lord works, I don't believe. But I do think he rewards faithfulness. I think he sees when we have that heart posture, and I think he rewards us. You know, if you're faithful with little, I will set you over much, and you can be faithful with much. And that's been what I feel like my story has been, seeking the Lord. And so I think it's so beautiful actually when we give the Lord a chance to just take all of these meager bits and all of these like, you know, mismatched pieces of our experiences of our lives and just offer it to him and just go like, God, what are you going to do with this? Like, what door are you going to open? And how can you prepare me so that when it opens, I can just like walk through it? And I think it's at the end of the day, it becomes more of a testimony of him and his faithfulness and what he's done. And when I look at, you know, you asked me at the beginning to introduce myself and how I am where I am. And it's just like, I have nothing for you. I don't have a PhD. I don't have like all these credentials. I don't. What I have is the Lord and like the faithfulness that he's been opening these doors for me. He's been establishing these connections. And even like beyond today, you know, day by day, I'm learning that doesn't change now just because I have a job that I'm actually really excited to have. It doesn't change that, you know, now I have, yeah, a set of, it's finally concrete some of the ministry goals that I had for myself. I'm now able to like live out on a daily basis. And I praise God for that. I'm so grateful. But still, like the daily pursuit of God and like where he's leading me, it doesn't end with a job. It doesn't end with a title. It doesn't end with like, you know, some concrete thing that we feel like we've proven ourselves and now we can show the world, look, it was all worth it. Like I think that's such a, it's settling, you know, it's settling for something that is smaller than what the Lord actually wants to do. And I feel like if at the end of my life I'm standing before other people actually, and if I say, you know, I have now in my life proven all the things that I could do on my own strength, like would I be like, that's a life well lived? Like, I just want to be able to say, I made the most of all these opportunities. Or do I want to get to the end of my life and say, look at how God just turned all these crazy things on their head and it wasn't actually about me. It wasn't about the things I earned or achieved. Like it's really a testimony to God's faithfulness. And I think that's what I'd rather have. Like I'd rather just have a life that makes no sense on paper and you're like, what the heck? But at the end of the day to say, yeah, the Lord is just doing his thing and I just was like, yeah, each step of the way, yeah, okay, what's today going to hold? And I just think that's such a cool way to live personally for me.
Yeah, that's so good. So good. It just makes me think like, you know, God, first of all, God can use us wherever we are.
Yeah.
And so even if you're in a season of obscurity where you don't know the direction that you're going, or you don't know if this is even the direction that God wants you in, sometimes we're just held in a space, in a time, in a moment, in a job to just sit and rest and wait upon the Lord. And I had to do that in my own journey where I've just been like, okay, God, like this is what I'm used to, but is this where I'm supposed to stay?
Hmm.
And if it's not, then where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? And just learning to like wait and rest on the Lord. And I like how you brought up heart posture because I think that's so key. It's not about what we put on our resume. It's about our heart posture. Like if we are Christians, if we are professing Christ, it doesn't matter if we're picking up dog poo or if we're like some corporate CEO that's climbed the ladder and telling
Yeah,
people like
literally.
where to go and what to do. It doesn't matter. Like we have the
Mhm.
joy of the Lord in whatever it is that we are doing to serve. And I think that is one thing that I have come to terms with and that I've recognized, and it takes off the pressure,
Yeah.
that pressure to perform, to rise up, to achieve, to prove my worth, my value. You know, I could go and get a job right now. I'm not going to, but picking up dog poo, and I'm okay with that today. Like I'm 36 years old, and I'm okay. Like if you see Melanie picking up dog poo, she's happy.
I'll be
She
cheering you
like,
on, man. Hand me a
yeah,
bag. Let's
I really
go.
don't want to. Like that was my chore growing up. Like I used to
I
actually,
guess you'd at least use a shovel.
I would use a
Yeah.
shovel, but
That's smart. I was
growing
gonna
up,
be
I
like,
actually
let's
would
go.
like dig holes in the grass or the dirt right beside the dog poo and just shove it in there, try to
Oh, smart.
get out of the job. So
Fertilizer.
I'm a very good creative thinker.
I definitely was
about
like a grab a stick and flick it in a bush.
yeah, nice.
I
That
hope
was
that's
my
a
job.
thing.
We had dogs growing up, and I
Is
always
that
have to
allowed?
pick
I
up
don't
the
know.
dog poo. The worst thing, I know this is totally off topic, when it's in the
Loving it.
grass and then you're trying to, like, shovel it out of the grass, but it's just, like, smearing.
Oh my word,
The
yes!
worst. So anyways,
Uh,
moving on to spiritual
okay.
things, not
No,
dog poo.
let's do it more. Let's talk more about dog poo.
Yeah, it's great. But yeah, I don't know, like, the whole, like, pressure to perform thing really hits
Mhm.
because, like, God is not giving us pressure to perform. He's not putting us into a position where, if we fail to perform well, then he's gonna, like, boot us out. Like,
Mm.
Melanie, come on. You can't even get it together.
Oh
Like,
my
that's not
gosh,
what it
yeah.
is. Like, for him, it's all about that intimacy, that relationship, and that, like, just being in that with him wherever it is that we are. And, I've just, like, really appreciated being able to learn that because I've definitely been in my life of the type of person that just thinks like if I get that badge, if I become a police officer, then I will have value. Then
Mm.
people will respect me or like recognize me even. Like I don't even need well, I like respect. I don't like people swearing at me or that's why I'm not a cop. Okay. Um
My
but
word.
yeah,
I
like,
could
you know what I
never.
mean? Like, it's like if I get that on my resume, if I do this, like, and I almost like even before all of that, when I was pursuing like travel and tourism, it was all about getting away. If I just like do that geographical move, then my life will get better. Like it was
Mm.
always like working towards something that wasn't in this moment. And I think what the Lord has been teaching me over the last 10 years is to just be present in the moment, stop putting all the pressure of the world on me. Like he's not putting that there. And at the end of the day, even like in the last couple months, I'm just like, wow, like I don't want to fade into the background of my own life because of fear of people or
Oh
what
my
they
gosh.
perceive,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
I don't want to just become some washed up version of what God's created me to be because I'm fearful of the people in this world that
Yes.
might be in the comment section telling me to stop being grateful because other kids are being abused or whatever, right? Like
Oh
I
my
am
gosh. Yeah.
I am beyond grateful
Mhm.
for this life that I've been given. I should be dead. I should literally be dead. If God did not meet me at my rock bottom and tell me, Melanie, it's time. Like stop being. He didn't say stupid, but I'm saying that cuz I was being stupid. But it's time to wake up is what he said. And again, not audible voice, just like in my spirit I was like, okay, it's time. If he did not come to me in that season, uh, I truly believe that I would have ended up like some hardcore drug addict, probably on
Mm.
East Hastings in Vancouver somewhere, like just like full fledged, because I saw it in my own self that I either had the option of changing absolutely everything or just going like being okay that I'm probably going to die from this. Like that
Wow.
was just like where the crossroads were for me. And so when I'm at home with my kids and I'm playing blocks on the usually it's Lego. We don't really actually have blocks like Lego. Come on. If I'm
Very
playing with my kids, like I'm trying very hard to be intentional with them. And sometimes my mind goes to like other things and I have to bring it back. Okay, no, I'm here. I'm here with you. And but I'm so grateful that I get to be the one to like drive them to school, pick them up from school, like talk with them. I mean, sometimes they get mad at me and like, they're very like ah, humans, man. It's like I saw a meme or like some sort of reel about like, oh, I cut my toddler's toast the wrong way. And that's so true. Like it's like no matter what I do, like here I baked you this beautiful cupcake. Man, it's not the right kind. And it's not like they're just humans.
That's so
It's just
real.
humans, right? Like it's just like what we do. We're just like, God, we need God.
Mhm.
We need you, Lord.
We
So,
do.
anyways, my point is that I am so grateful for my life and I don't want to have to
Mhm.
fade into the background and like dim my light and dim my gratitude because I might make somebody on the internet or in my general life feel bad about themselves. And I don't want people to dim their light and
Mm.
dim their gratitude. And thank God that I've come to learn this lesson because as a teenager, if I saw a girl that was like confident and I don't know, whatever, like just living her life and living her dream
Mhm.
and loving it, I would slander her. I would try to like pick away at her foundation and make and like cause like corruption in her confidence.
Hmm.
Gross. Why do we do that? Like, it's
Hmm.
not even, like, something I was thinking about. It was my own insecurity and my own lack of
Yeah.
confidence that was like, "I see
Yeah.
something I want, but I don't like that you have it, so I'm gonna try and wreck it for you and see
Yeah.
if I can do that." Now it's like, Lindsay, if you come up to me and you're like, "Melanie, I got a job at Apologetics Canada. I'm so happy." I'm like, "Lindsay, I'm so happy for you. That's beautiful. I know your wrestle. I know that you were longing for something and you didn't know where the Lord was taking you. And then when you oh, Lindsay got a job with Apologetics Canada. Like, I can be excited for you in that because it's no longer about like whether or not I have a job or whether or not I have gratitude or if I'm recognizing the things in my life. If I like get in a fight with somebody that I love dearly and I'm like having a bad day, I can still be thankful and grateful for the things that are going good in your life. And I
Yeah.
honestly think that's like a God thing. Like, that's not
Mhm.
Melanie figuring out how to be a happy person.
Yeah.
Uh, that is the Lord.
Oh my gosh, rejoicing with people who rejoice is way harder than weeping with people who weep. Like, it's way easier to enter into someone's suffering and to be like, "Yeah, I see that and bear that," than to see someone else thriving and to not have that sense of like, "Oh, what does this say about me?" Or like, "Oh, what is that?" And I think what you just said is so beautiful. And I think even just to reframe this conversation, like we think about ourselves and our calling in such an individualistic way sometimes of like, where am I going to be? How's this going to go? Da, 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 da. And I think what I've found really interesting in my life is like, I think there was lots of times I was tempted to think that way, to say like, what could I do to establish myself or to use whatever. And then for the Lord to open this door where really I'm not like, I'm an assistant still. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I've done administrative work forever. That's still what I'm doing. Like, I'm still not like, in some senses, like leading anything or, but just the sense that you could be a part of something and desiring that. And then you're talking about the body of Christ. What if we actually like owned one another's successes and said, what if the purpose of my life isn't just how far I can get, but like what part I can play in what the Lord is doing through AC, Apologetics Canada, through my church, through whatever. And just I think that's actually really what the Lord, I said way back that the Lord called me to this church where I didn't know how I would fit in there, and I just really learned in that time how to get behind others, how to encourage them, how to identify gifts in other people, and to say, actually, hey, you could really use this. Hey, you could actually really grow in this area. And there's things you can be a part of without being the face of it. And I think that is actually so fulfilling. Like, that's actually such a good feeling. And as a parent too, I mean, we don't want to be like, my identity is my kids and I don't want to put that pressure on them. But at the same time, I think about my sense of calling. And if I reduce it just down to this job, like, what does that mean for my kids? And that I actually get to, part of my calling is to set them up for a life with the Lord, Lord willing. I pray for that, right? That they would pursue Him, that they would uncover their own gifts, that they would go and pursue their own career paths, families, ministries. I don't know. I don't know. That's exciting. And that's something I get to be a part of. And it just adds these layers of like, just like dynamic opportunity that's not always going to be yourself. It might be other people around you. And just the opportunity that that perspective affords to be genuinely fulfilled, genuinely energized, genuinely joyful, like you're saying, for other people. And like, oh my gosh, I would love to get to the end of my life and think, look at all these other people that I've like propped up, that I have, encouraged, who are now going on beyond me to share the gospel and to use their gifts and their abilities. I think that's such a beautiful calling ultimately. And to just have it on our radar is like, that's available to all of us all the time, whatever place you're actually in right now. We can all see people around us who are, stepping into new things or trying whatever. And just to say, yeah, how do we come alongside you in that? How do we prop you up? And then as you succeed, we get part of that. And I think that's just such a cool thing in the body of Christ. And I think it's cool to watch what you're doing with this podcast and this ministry. And I remember you and I talking at a conference a couple years back where you're like, man, I'm nervous to share my story, but I feel like the Lord has really burned in my heart to do this, and to do this in spaces that were kind of scary. Like, online that's a world that seriously scares the life out of me. I don't love it, to be honest with you, but it's a space that Christian voices are needed. And I just, it was just cool even to see how the Lord has burdened you with that, and the steps of courage really that it's taken for you to share what you've shared and to be public about that and the impact that's having on other people. Like, I also want to celebrate that with you and the work God's doing in your life. And yeah, together, what will the Lord do with this partnership right here, Melanie? I don't know. But it's a gift. And yeah, being part of the body is a gift. Getting to do ministry alongside one another is a gift. And that's why this is so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I love that you brought that up too, because a close friend of mine even said maybe, I don't know, we just had a conversation about not necessarily being the face of whatever,
Yeah.
but coming alongside those underneath there and like edifying the body
Yeah.
essentially and like
Mhm.
providing for. And I think that that's countercultural. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think, from what I can gather from the world, it's all about me, me, me. What can I get? How can I get what I want to get? And I need to have what I need to have, and get out of my way, you. And that's not what God calls us to. Like, God calls us to link arms with our brothers and sisters and walk towards one common goal, which is Him. And I'm so thankful for that, because I think that there's so much freedom in recognizing that we're not here to compete against each other, but we're here to pull
Yeah.
each other up and out of the flames of fire. Like, there's so many people that are suffering, and we're neglecting to recognize our personal responsibility for helping those next to us, and
Yeah.
not trying to fight it, not
Yeah.
trying to put them down or like
Mhm.
try to get ahead of them, but to come alongside and uplift. And I'm here for that. I love that. So,
So good.
yeah. God is so good.
He is so good.
He is so good.
And like, yeah, Jesus in every way, you watch the way he lived his life, and just like one of my favorite things about him is just the confidence that he had to just be like, this is exactly what is needed. I'm going to love these people that you don't think deserve love. And I'm going to call out these people who you think are squeaky clean. And I'm going to just
Mm.
lay down my life. And I just think if we really desired that, to like be like him, like how would that change everything? How would that change our sense of calling, our sense of purpose, our sense of everything? And that's contrary to, like you're saying, so much of what the world says right now. And the feminist movement is like, go get yours, go and get the job and do all the things and da 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 da. And it's like, my job actually right now is in a lot of ways, and like with raising small kids, right? It's to die to myself. It's to say my life isn't about me anymore. It's not about all the things I could I achieve way more if I didn't have kids? Oh my gosh, 1,000%. Like, it's just they take so much in terms of your time and resources, but it is so meaningful and beautiful because it's in a way that I identify with Christ, in that he laid down his life. He didn't come to be equal with God, though that was actually rightfully his, something he could have come here and pursued that seat. And instead he, lays down his life. That's like mind boggling, and something that we all need to embody more. And the beautiful thing is that in that, it's where you find joy. It's where you find fulfillment. It's not actually from all the achievements and all the all the accolades. Like, we've seen time and time and time again that people who pursue all those things and get it all, like, how fulfilled are they? They're not. Like, that's just a literal fact of life. You just observe people around you and how it's never, ever, ever produced someone who had like arrived. Right. Whereas you see people that identify with Christ and it makes no sense logically, but it is where life is. That is life. That is joy. That is purpose. Like, he is where you find that. And if you try to get it by any other means, like, good luck. It does not work. And I'm so confident in that with, all the different things. It's like hard to represent Jesus in a lot of ways in the world, but I'm just so confident that anyone who's willing to try it out for themselves, anyone who's willing to actually like dig into the scriptures, figure out who Jesus was and live the way he lived, like that changes your life and you won't go back. Like, that is the ultimate. He is the ultimate. Praise
Yeah.
Jesus. He's so good. Couldn't
Yeah,
agree more.
man. So good. So good. Man, so
It's
good.
awesome.
Yes. Yes, and yes, and yes. I am so grateful that you took the time to join us here on Rekindled Faith.
This
So
was so
good.
fun. I really hope we do this again.
Oh,
I genuinely
anytime.
just love talking to you. So, I mean, anytime on or off this, like, let's chat more. I
Oh,
love you.
anytime. You got my number?
I do. You're
Uh,
right. I do.
you do. Yeah. Okay, so just for the listeners though, where can they connect with you? I'm gonna put some links in the show notes as well, but also I'm gonna give you an opportunity to do a little plug for Apologetics Canada.
Apologetics Canada. We have a website. We have an Instagram at Apologetics Canada. We have conferences coming up. We have our history series. We just registration is open for 2 BC conferences. So would absolutely love to meet you all there. I'll be doing a breakout session on my experience in a class. That was the history of witchcraft in Europe before 1800. So if you're curious about how a Christian navigates those spaces, come and hear me and others. There's gonna be so many incredible people there. It's gonna be such a good time. So please come, please come. Yeah, I have Instagram, but I don't know. I would just follow Apologetics Canada. That's where you're gonna find all the goods. Yeah, hope to see you at the conference.
Awesome. Thanks, Lindsay.
Okay, see you later.